What's up? It's Marty Yitram, the geeky American otaku, and you are in the Nerd Nest. Well, we're just a couple of days away from Thanksgiving, and I got at least one more video coming before the month is out. Hopefully I can get it done in time. It's going to be a Let's Play I've been wanting to do for a while, but until then, it's time for another episode of 15-Minute Game Show Reviews. Continuing with the poll I did back in September, this is the second place result of that poll. And it was a show that was short-lived due to ratings, and it was more or less a clone of a much more successful game show. But it was seen in reruns for many years afterwards, and it was notable for being the last network game show hosted by the Dean of Game Shows. It's also the only game show that I know of that had a smoking sign. I kid you not. It's time to pass the hot potato. How appropriate for someone who lives in Idaho.
Here are our champions. They're three of a kind.
Hi, I'm Pam Noggle.
Hi, I'm Mike McHugh.
I'm Allison Dunn. We're the accountants.
And here are our challengers. They're also three of a kind.
Hi, I'm Karen Connor.
Hi, I'm Jet Tingy.
I'm Paula Martin, and we
Sell cars.
And they're here to play Hot Potato. And here to toss the hot potato, our host, Bill Cullen.
Hi there. Thank you. Thank you very much. It was nice of you to join us here at Hot Potato, and it was nice of you to tune us in. You're welcome.
I'm reviewing another game show hosted by the legendary Bill Cullen already? I must be in a rut. Anyway, unlike Blockbusters, this was the last show he hosted for a network, but it didn't have nearly as long as a run, and it would have been forgotten if it wasn't rerun first on CBN, later the Family Channel, and now Freeform, then on USA, and finally on the Game Show Network. Hot Potato, Smoking Sign and All, premiered on NBC on January 23rd, 1984, and ended on June 29th of that year. From April 23rd until its cancellation, the show was known as Celebrity Hot Potato, also known as a textbook example on how to screw up a semi-decent format. But I digress. The show is produced by Jack Barry and Dan Enright, their first show for NBC since their involvement in the quiz show scandals of the 1950s, their first for any network since 1978, and the last original production Jack Barry had any part of before his death on May 2nd, 1984. As I said before, the host was the legendary Bill Cullen. I already did a pretty detailed bio about him in my last video, so I'll keep this one simple. He was born in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania in 1920, survived a childhood bout with polio that left him with physical limitations for the rest of his life, began his broadcasting career in 1939 where he called for Pittsburgh Steelers football games, moved to New York City in 1943 where he was hired as a staff announcer at CBS, became a freelance joke writer for some of the top radio stars of the day including Arthur Godfrey, Danny Kaye, and Jack Benny, and began his career in game shows in 1945 when he was hired as an announcer for a radio quiz called Give and Take. He hosted a popular morning show at WNBC Radio in New York from 1955 to 61, and began a long association with Goodson Todman Productions in 1952, hosting the game show Winner Take All. He hosted the original Name That Tune on CBS from 1953 to 59, and became a household name in 1956 when NBC premiered Goodson Todman's original version of The Price is Right, running until 1965 with the last 2 years airing on ABC. Bill was also a panelist on the original I've Got a Secret and the 1969 revival of To Tell the Truth, sometimes subbing as host. Other game shows he hosted throughout his career include I Guess, Free on a Match, $25,000 Pyramid in the 70s, Password Plus for 6 weeks in 1980, filling in for Alan Ludden, Child's Play, Chain Reaction, Blockbusters, and his last series, The Joker's Wild, taking over from the show's original host and creator, Jack Barry, after he died of a heart attack shortly before Hot Potato went off the air. Bill hosted a record 23 game shows, earning him the nickname the Dean of Game Shows. Bill Cullen passed away in 1990 at the age of 70 from lung cancer. The announcer was Charlie O'Donnell. Born in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania in 1932, Charlie began his career in local radio as a teenager. In 1956, while working at a local R&B station, he discovered and launched the career of future Philadelphia radio personality High Lit. In 1958, he became the sidekick of Dick Clark on American Bandstand, which was filmed at WFIL-TV, now ABC-owned WPVI. This would later lead to Charlie getting DJ gigs in Los Angeles radio and then as a news anchor and announcer at LA TV station KCOP, where he performed double duty and often introduced his own newscasts with a self-referential cue. And now, Charlie O'Donnell with the news. It was at KCOP where he began his association with Barry and Enright Productions, as the syndicated versions of their hit game shows Tic-Tac-Dough and The Joker's Wild were recorded there. In 1975, Charlie became the announcer on the show he was most associated with, Wheel of Fortune, though he left in 1980 when it was thought that NBC was about to cancel the daytime show. They didn't, obviously, but Charlie had to fulfill his previous commitments to Barry and Enright, and Jack Clark took over as the announcer on Wheel. In 1981, he was announcer on all three of Barry and Enright's syndicated game shows at the time, Tic Tac, Joker, and Bullseye, the latter of which ended the following year. Tic Tac and Joker both ended in 1986, and Charlie migrated to Chuck Barris Productions, announcing for the new Newlywed Game, the all-new dating game, and on the short-lived NBC game show Wordplay starring Tom Kennedy. Other game shows Charlie announced either part or full-time include All-Star Secrets, Headline Chasers, The $100,000 Pyramid, and the 1990 version of Monopoly. In 1988, following the death of Jack Clark, Los Angeles DJ M.G. Kelly would serve as the announcer on Wheel of Fortune for most of the 1988-89 season, but upon the cancellation of both the new Newlywed Game and the all-new dating game, Charlie would finally return to Wheel. The daytime show would end in 1991, but Charlie would stay on the nighttime version for the next 19 years. Charlie would also announce many of the Wheel of Fortune video games starting in 1992, and also serving as off-screen host alongside Vanna White, as Pat Sajak did not want to appear in the video games until his children were grown. Pat finally made his appearance in the 2010 versions of the video game, which coincidentally were released the day after Charlie O'Donnell passed away from congestive heart failure at the age of 78. He was ultimately succeeded as the announcer on Wheel by current announcer Jim Thornton. The game was played like this. 2 teams of 3 contestants competed. One team was usually the returning champions. The 3 teams, as stated in the intro, were all 3 of a kind, in that they all had something in common. And as seen in this video, they were private eyes and paralegals. The game began when Bill asked a question and stated the number of acceptable answers, with a minimum of at least 7. Here's an example.
We call Dodger Stadium for its 7 best-selling food and drink items. Now, we have the list here. Keep in mind, we are not looking for brand names, just food and drink items.
Some of the questions were trivia with a set number of factual answers, while others were survey questions which required the contestants to guess the most common responses, similar to Family Feud. One member of the team with initial control started by either giving an answer or passing the potato, which meant that player challenged an opponent to do so. If the player gave a correct answer, control passed to the next team member in line. An incorrect response sent the player to a bench behind the team's podium where they had to sit out the rest of the round and gave control to the opposing team. If an opponent responded correctly after being challenged, that team took control and the challenging player was eliminated. If not, the opponent was eliminated and control passed to the player after the one who issued the challenge. As the players gave correct answers, they were displayed on screen for the viewer's benefit. Once 5 answers had been given, Bill would read them back to the players. Bill would also warn the contestants if they repeated an answer previously already given. Doing so twice on the same turn would send that player to the bench. A team could win a round either by giving the 7th correct answer, regardless of who gave the first 6, or by eliminating all 3 opponents through successful challenges and or their own mistakes. The first team to win 2 rounds won $1,000, was crowned champion, and went to the bonus round. The champion started the first round, and the third if necessary, while the challenger started the second round. In the pilot, the team won $500 for winning a round. Theirs to keep, win, or lose, with 2 rounds winning in the match. Beginning on February 6, 1984, a 7th straight jackpot was offered to any team that gave 7 correct answers in a row without either making a mistake or challenging their opponents. The jackpot started at $500 and increased by that amount for each match it was not won. In the bonus round, the winning team was given a subject of comparison, such as which weighs more, who's been married more times, which group had more members, etc. And they were always shown two possible choices. The team discussed the choices and then selected one of them. The team won $500 for every correct answer, but a mistake at any time ended the round and forfeited all the accumulated bonus money. The team was allowed to pass on one question, and they could stop after any question and keep the money accumulated. If they answered 5 questions correctly, they won a jackpot that began at $5,000 and increased by that amount for every game in which it went unclaimed. However, if a new champion team was crowned, the jackpot would be reset to $5,000 and they would have to build it up again. In the pilot, all 3 teammates each took a turn after answering a question, with a correct answer adding $200 to their stake. Afterward, Bill would give them up to 4 chances to go double or nothing each time, so the most a team could win would be $9,600. Teams continued to appear on the show until they were either defeated or had played the bonus round 5 times, whatever came first. Now, as for Celebrity Hot Potato, the front game rules were the same, but teams were now composed of either 2 celebrities and 1 civilian contestant, or sometimes they had all celebrity teams. In the former case, all winnings went to the contestant. In the latter case, teams that lost in the main game received $500 for a chosen charity. The 7 straight jackpot was also discontinued. The bonus round was played the same as before, but after a few episodes, the jackpot was eliminated and it was always a flat $5,000 and never increased, and celebrity teams won $1,000 for their charity if they fell short. And that's how Hot Potato was played. Now let's grade this spud, with extra ham for the celebrity version. Hot Potato premiered at noon Eastern, 11 a.m. everywhere else on NBC on January 23rd, 1984, replacing the Chain Reaction spinoff Go after 4 months. That hour had long been a problem for the 3 networks at the time, as by 1984, their local affiliates would often preempt network programming to air newscasts or syndicated fare. It was a particular problem for NBC as it went up against the still popular Family Feud on ABC, and in some markets, the first half of CBS's hit soap The Young and the Restless. The Peacock put Hot Potato on ice on June 29th and aired reruns of Different Strokes for the rest of the summer, before finally finding success in the noon hour with Super Password, which premiered on September 24th and stayed on NBC until March of 1989. Speaking of Family Feud, Bill even mentioned Hot Potato's similarity to it in the first episode as seen in this clip.
Now, what is different about our game is this. A team can win a round if all 3 members of the opposing team are knocked out of the game by a wrong guess or by coming up with the 7th correct answer to that question.
As such, the show loses points for being a semi-clone of Feud. However, what makes it not being a complete ripoff of Feud is that the teams only use 3 members instead of 5, and they weren't usually family members, but instead were all members of the same trade. Also, unlike Family Feud, there was the extra element of being allowed to pass the question to your opponent and forcing them to try to answer, with the added risk of being sent to the bench if they got it wrong or knocking out the player who challenged them if they got it right. I also like the 7 straight jackpot. The bonus round also had a decent format as well, as it differentiated from other Barry Enright game shows at bonus rounds, as it wasn't purely a game of chance or had a hazard element that needed to be avoided. However, I wish they didn't have to reset the jackpot when a new champion was crowned, and I also would have liked it if the money was easier to split by 3. But I digress. Of course, the show could only languish for so long before the network and producers decide to add a big ugly red neon word to the show's logo in an attempt to boost the ratings. And that word was celebrity. Much like with Celebrity Bullseye 2 years prior, Celebrity Hot Potato was a dumpster fire. The celebrities tried to sometimes be the center of attention, and this ended up slowing the game down considerably. And whenever they tried to crack a joke, it usually fell flat, especially when all of the celebs were trying to be hysterical at the exact same moment. You got words going back and forth, left and right, so that eventually they were all unintelligible, like this video, and became a hot mess, like this video. They also dropped the 7 straight jackpot, removing some excitement from the show. In addition, let's not forget that this is a game show where regular people are trying to win money. The stars didn't really care too much since it wasn't their money that they were risking and they got an appearance fee. Instead, they sometimes gave stupid answers and thus got kicked out of the game and sat at the bench. And the contestants on the show were the only ones that were serious about playing because they were the ones trying to win any money. In any case, NBC realized the ship was sinking and finally pulled the plug on what was otherwise a decent game show, which is why they usually don't have celebrities on a game show unless it's for special occasions, or nowadays, it's a spin-off that airs seasonally, like ABC's celebrity editions of Family Feud, Wheel of Fortune, and Jeopardy! As for Bill Cullen, well, he once again showed why he was truly the dean of game shows. He had his trademark wit and leadership ability on display yet again, and even earned his second Daytime Emmy nomination for hosting more than a year after Hot Potato went off the air. Oddly enough, Bill remarked that he had been chosen to host largely by default, since the original host intended for it had flopped during an early run-through of the game, and neither Barry and Enright Productions nor NBC could think of anyone else to host the show. Bill also noted that the scenario had occurred repeatedly during his more than 4-decade career, resulting in as many credits as a game show host. He even handled the god-awful celebrity version of the show well, as he often got annoyed with the stars showboating and a couple of times flatly told them to shut up.
Because of what happened just before the commercial, I'd like to apologize to all blind people and children.
Anyway, Hot Potato was a decent game show hosted by a TV legend in Bill Cullen, and even though it was a clone of Family Feud, it had its own elements and offered a good cash payout, and it gets a solid B. Except for Celebrity Hot Potato, it gets a mushy green, moldy, eyes growing out of it F. And now the part where I say how I'd revive the show if I had the chance. The show would still be played the same as the original pre-celebrity version, with 3 contestants on a team, bringing back that 3-of-a-kind gimmick. The 7th straight jackpot would also be brought back, but it would now start at $1,500 and go up by that much until it was claimed. The winning team won $3,000, and the runners-up won $1,500 as a consolation prize if they were defeated by a returning champion. The bonus round was still played the same as before, but with $1,500 awarded for each correct answer and $30,000 for 5. Champions could stay on for up to 5 shows, or they were defeated, whatever came first, so it's possible for a team to win over $150,000. As for the host, I'd go with either Todd Newton, Ken Jeong, or John Michael Higgins. The announcers could either be Jim Thornton, Burton Richardson, or Rich Fields. And that is my most recent episode of 15-Minute Game Show Reviews. Remember to subscribe to my YouTube channel and to follow me on Space Hay. I might get a Blue Sky account soon too, I don't know. Anyway, I got more videos coming soon. I hope you all have a wonderful Thanksgiving and try not to fall asleep by eating too much turkey. Remember, beer and tryptophan and pumpkin pie don't mix. I'm Marty Ittram, the Geeky American Otaku, and I am logging out of the Nerd Nest. Hey there, Marty Ittram here. Before we go, of course, I'm sure you all know by now, over the weekend we lost a legendary game show host in Chuck Woolery. Chuck, of course, was a big part of my childhood because he hosted a lot of great game shows. Of course, my favorite, the best show I think he did, of course, was Scrabble. So much so I have this. This is the home version of the game show from the 80s. Got it on eBay. And, well, he was a legend in the game show biz, and that's what we're going to remember him for. So, thanks for everything, Chuck. We'll see you in 2 and 2.